In 1974, in a quiet rural field outside Xi'an, China, a group of farmers digging a well made a discovery that would change history. What they uncovered wasn't treasure, nor ancient ruins as they expected, but something far more extraordinary: thousands of life-sized clay soldiers buried beneath the earth in perfect formation. They stood silently, row after row, untouched for over 2,000 years. This was no myth. This was the legendary Terracotta Army, one of the greatest archaeological discoveries ever made, and a lasting symbol of China's ancient grandeur. These silent warriors were built to guard the tomb of one man, Huang, the first emperor of a unified China. But who was he, and what drove him to create an entire underground army made of clay? Huang began his reign as King Zheng of the Qin state during the Warring States period, a time when China was divided into rival kingdoms. Through military conquest, strict governance, and brilliant strategy, he defeated 6 other states and unified China in 221 BCE. He declared himself the first emperor, Qin Huangdi, a title never before used in Chinese history. But unification wasn't his only goal. Once in power, he launched massive reforms, standardizing currency, measurements, language, and even the width of cart axles. He built roads, walls, which would later become the foundation of the Great Wall, and centralized power like never before. His rule was transformative, but it was also ruthless. Critics were silenced, books were burned, and dissent was crushed. Yet beneath this strong image was a deep fear of death, and honestly, an obsession with immortality. He sent expeditions across the seas in search of elixirs of life and employed alchemists and scholars to find ways to cheat death. Though he failed to escape mortality, Qin Huang was determined to rule in the afterlife, just as he had in life. At just 13 years old, Qin Huang began planning his own tomb. What he envisioned was no ordinary burial place. He ordered the construction of a massive underground complex designed to mirror his earthly empire, a sprawling necropolis that would take nearly 4 decades and over 700,000 laborers to complete. The centerpiece of this tomb was the Terracotta Army, a life-sized military force crafted to protect the emperor in the afterlife. These clay soldiers were placed in precise military formation, as if ready for eternal battle. They were positioned to face east, the direction from which Qin's enemies once came. Today, archaeologists have uncovered over 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots, 670 horses, and, honestly, countless non-military figures, like musicians, acrobats, officials, and even strongmen. This wasn't just a fighting force. It was a microcosm of Qin society, meant to serve the emperor forever. What's truly remarkable about the Terracotta Army is, well, the astonishing individuality of each figure. Every warrior has distinct facial features, hairstyles, expressions, and clothing details. The craftsmanship suggests that they were modeled after real people, soldiers, officers, and commoners alike. Some even show ethnic differences, hinting at the cultural diversity of the Qin Empire. Even their weapons were real: bronze swords, spears, and crossbows, many of which were sharp and really well preserved. Each piece was assembled in parts: heads, limbs, torsos, and fired in kilns before being painted in vivid colors: reds, blues, purples, and more. Sadly, most of the paint disintegrated shortly after excavation due to exposure to air. Today, scientists are working on techniques to preserve remaining pigments for future generations. The Terracotta Army is just one part of the emperor's vast burial complex. At the center of it all lies Qin Huang's main tomb mound, believed to be an immense underground palace filled with unimaginable riches and, possibly deadly traps. Ancient Chinese texts describe the tomb as a miniature version of the emperor's world, complete with rivers of flowing mercury, mountains of bronze, and a starry ceiling made from pearls. Some passages even mention automated crossbows set to fire on intruders. Modern testing of the soil around the mound shows abnormally high mercury levels, giving weight to these ancient accounts. However, the tomb has never been excavated. Chinese authorities and archaeologists agree the technology to safely open and preserve what's inside doesn't yet exist. Excavating it too soon could, damage or destroy irreplaceable artifacts. So for now, the emperor remains undisturbed, entombed in a hidden world, guarded by his silent army. Why go to such extraordinary lengths? To the ancient Chinese, the afterlife was not a spiritual dream. It was a continuation of earthly life. Just as emperors were protected by armies in life, they needed that protection in death. The Terracotta army wasn't just about fear of the unknown, it was about power, control, and eternal order. For Qin Shi Huang, who united an entire civilization, the idea of vulnerability, even in death, was unthinkable. The Terracotta army was both a shield and a symbol, a statement that his rule would never end. The Terracotta army is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of China's greatest cultural treasures. It continues to captivate the world with its mystery, scale, and artistry. It has reshaped our understanding of ancient China's technological sophistication, political power, and spiritual beliefs. More than just statues, these warriors stand as a timeless reminder of an emperor's ambition and humanity's eternal desire to be remembered. The silent army of clay speaks volumes about a world long gone and an emperor who refused to be forgotten.